Are we live? I think we. Oh yeah, yeah. It says we are live.
Right
Welcome.
there, it's on the screen. Look at that.
On the top other side. Yeah, I'm on the wrong side. Sabah, everybody. Welcome back to episode 44 of Saturday Morning with Tech, with obviously a return of a show favorite, our friend, our compadre, and our awesome phone challenge. Mr. Juan Carlos Bagnell, some gadget guy, some LG chill guy, as it's been dubbed in other episodes.
I like the way that you say it though, because it has just a little bit of a chill on it, as opposed to a shill.
Chill,
on it.
yeah.
So I'm just LG chill guy.
You're chilling with LG. You're that cool.
I'm easy like Sunday morning on a Saturday
morning with Tech, and with that started, we'll start off with Goku this time. How are you doing, sir? How's your morning?
It's been busy. I took a little road trip out this morning to go meet up with a buddy, and got totally ghosted, and then got donuts, and we just started carving a pumpkin. So Lex has designed her first pumpkin carving, which is pretty exciting.
I like how you ended it on a nice little up note. So I asked about the morning purely because I totally timing
was there
wise.
Something happening this morning that we were supposed to.
I was supposed to go meet up with a buddy of mine. It's weird. My story sounds very similar to yours.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to meet up with a buddy of mine. Totally forgot about it. and then I get a call. It's like, hey, bud, I'm here. And I'm like, I thought we were meeting at a different time. Not only different time, but I was very far and way behind.
It's funny because you were embarrassed that we couldn't make the meetup. I was embarrassed because man, I got here stupid early. And it's annoying, right? When someone's like so early and like now I feel like I've got to rush, but then you just weren't even there.
I wasn't. No, and last time we meeting, the first time when we did the exchange, I jokingly decided to be smart aleck right there, and then actually say, oh, I'm not here. I'm home. I'll be here in 20 minutes or whatever. And I was like literally parked across the park from the location we were meeting. And then, of course, karma, end of October, Techtober as it is, I actually do what I said I was joking about. So anyways, I do apologize. And I did apologize to Juan before. He did drive all the way to meet up, and I was not able to meet up at the time. So he was gracious enough to accept my apology. And it sounds like... I guess not bagels. Donuts and
donuts.
So donuts make things better. Always. There's like a solution to many problems. And I'm happy that you guys are going in with the carvings. We did a couple of carvings here. Unfortunately, they're already rotted by now. We should have waited. You live and learn.
We planned on doing this yesterday as kind of like starting a new Halloween tradition of setting them out the night before, and we couldn't make that happen. So day of, maybe our Halloween tradition is carving the pumpkin on the day.
The Halloween morning, you start it off and you do it. And oh, by the way, speaking of which, happy Halloween to everybody, and hope you guys are able to celebrate it in a safe and in a safe way. Basically, let's just say that in a safe way as you deem fit. Depending on where you are, some places are allowing people to do some trick-or-treating. Some places are not. So like I said, hope you guys are enjoying it. My son definitely went all out with the costume. He's enjoying that part.
What is he going as?
He's going as one of the characters from Fortnite. So he's one of the characters, like the player. So with the mask, with the costume, with the gloves. I posted a picture of it a couple of weeks ago. It's decent. I mean, it's something that he likes. I play Fortnite as well, but I'm not into that much. That I would go buy a costume for it. But yes. I'm looking in the comments. We have Davin Davis is in the comments. Alex P. Oh, man. Hey, whoa, man, everybody's in there. Yeah, look at that. A lot of people are starting to come up. So the purpose of today's video, and as you probably already saw from the title and the nice, beautifully orchestrated and not intentionally choreographed picture.
Thumbnail. I'm stealing those photos from my thumbnail on Monday.
Absolutely.
That came out perfect.
That was as if we planned it. So what happened is I took a picture and I was like, hey, Juan, do you mind sending me a picture that looks like this? Lo and behold, he sends me the picture exactly, roughly the same background. So from an aesthetical view, it's hard to tell that we were not standing next to each other.
Right next to each other. it looks like we're in the same place. It's
Absolutely.
maybe the best thumbnail I think I've ever been a part of.
A totally coincidence and could not have worked any better. But so, yes, I will be sending those pictures over, and I think for me at least, they work great because it fits the format of what we're talking about today, which is I'm holding the Surface Duo. This is Juan Carlos's Surface Duo. And Juan Carlos is holding my Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, coincidentally, both in white. Again, same conversation again. And we did a challenge about a month ago, which I think originally we were saying that we were going to go for about a couple of weeks, but then, as we all know, there's no escaping it. It makes
fools of us all.
And the weird part about it is where we think we have control over it. I had a few things show up at my door that I didn't even know they were coming.
Yeah.
Like to the point that it got to that point. So it's not like you can just say, I'm okay. I'm busy with other things. No. But
I had a few surprises like, oh, we're doing this now.
Dude.
Okay.
My really nice surprise was this guy. I mean, I've been waiting on this guy for a while and it shows up. Yes. We got different cases.
Yeah.
I like. Yes. No. So mine is. They're the exact same pattern. I'm assuming. Did you take off the adhesive on the inside part of the case, or are you keeping it without the adhesive?
No, I'm keeping the adhesive. I'm not. I'm so freaked out by moving parts on a phone that I'm never taking it out of some kind of case. So the adhesive little bits are.
Yeah. So,
here,
I've had the phone for literally maybe 24, almost 48 hours. And there's a couple of adhesive pieces in here. I keep forgetting. I'm pointing to the wrong direction because the camera's sitting there. But, okay. So we have our first super chat, which is starting us off at the right level with Alusha. Hopefully I'm saying it correctly. Make it treat, no trick. It will be a treat, no tricks. This is a straight, truly experience. We had more than what I was trying to shoot for before. Is we had more than enough time. We originally planned for 30 days. And thank you very much, Alusha, for the super chat. And of course, starting us off on the amazing right foot on that side. So we had a couple more weeks. Techtober happened. So the usability or using the phone was basically kind of a mixed, spreading in between different devices. But for me, I kind of, I have to say that, the Surface Duo has a very unique user experience that very few other devices come close.
Well, before we start jumping into even the analysis, just to kind of recap for folks tuning in right now is
absolutely
every year we try to do a phone swap challenge, and our first phone swap challenge was more camera focused.
Exactly.
Our second one was like, could you use a phone for the lowest dollar amount possible? I think we got each other phones around the $50 price point.
It was supposed to be $50 including.
We both kind of went over, and it's fine.
It is.
Your phone was way more functional than the phone I picked out for you. But this year we wanted to take a look at productivity and turn this into a little bit more of a round robin. We both have some LGs with Stylus support. You were spending some time with the Note Ultra. I was really excited about the Surface Duo.
Exactly.
And in switching Note for Surface and then kind of having an LG in reserve,
which is
so many different faucets. Like I pick up a Note and I'm having a completely different conversation about getting work done than when I was using the Surface. And that to me became the most interesting part of this challenge was we can kind of broadly categorize. These are phones that I think fit well under this idea of productivity devices.
Oh, absolutely.
But seeing such radical differences, even in like how some of the software works or what they're doing to Android to make that software work was really the most exciting part about doing this trade.
Exactly. And it's one of those, we've heard of the Note. We've seen the Note for years as touted as an actual productivity king. That's one of the functions of the pen, the ability to be able to do your work and still have fun with a large display, and intended to be the powerhouse of whatever year it comes out of, right? So at the end of the year, Samsung puts all of their bells and whistles for that year in their Note line. This year, the Note has a little bit different approach. They didn't go all out with the specs. They kind of matched the specs that we had originally with the S20 Ultra. So the experience is kind of, I would say, similar to what we've seen earlier, except for the pen input and slightly better optics. But we weren't focusing on cameras.
I would
And
even go a little further where I think it's interesting how Samsung has compromised on
there's a
the
few
Note
there is some
over
compromise there.
the
S20.
S20 Ultra. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Battery size is smaller by 500 milliamperes.
The Zoom.
Also, well, there's the zoom, but there's also slower fast charging. The fast charging on the Note 20 Ultra is 25 watts as opposed to the 45 watt that we have on the S20 Ultra, which is a surprise to me because you'd assume Ultra to Ultra. I would assume all of S20 fits within Note 20 Ultra, then add S Pen XYZ function few.
And for that idea of it being the professional productivity device,
And then those
the,
are the things. Yeah.
the business user on the go who needs a quick top off might be better off with the S series this year.
The S20
depending on
surprisingly, yeah, if you rely, and I've come to rely on the S20 Ultra fast charging, which I didn't realize. So when you go from that speed and then you get the Note 20 Ultra and you realize, wow, it's taking a lot longer to charge this guy. There
and
is
it's a smaller battery.
and it's a smaller battery. So those are the things. But if you're not coming from an S to the Note, you wouldn't notice it too much. But if you were looking for the best of the best, that experience is slightly different. But we can discuss that in a different segment. The cameras did get improved though on the Note 20 Ultra over the S20. So it's not all compromises. There are some improvements.
Mhm.
They added the laser autofocusing, which we didn't have before. And
Which
I just
they needed.
which well, I was going to say they needed because there was their first attempt at a 108 megapixel sensor on a device suffered from some I would say optimizations.
I'm not going to be doing the same kind of camera deep dive, but spending some time with the Note, I've shot a lot on it.
I can, yes.
Even for this laser autofocus system, which helps, it's still not great. There are still some issues. I really don't like Samsung's post processing on this 9 pixel binning sensor for the 108 megapixels, because it's really not 108. It's really
no.
It's really a 12 megapixel sensor. And then also autofocus is just spooky on the Note 20 Ultra. If you shot on any other phones, I'm putting shots up against the OnePlus 8 Pro. And for all of the flack that OnePlus gets for their camera software, I like what they're doing with HDR better than what Samsung is doing this year. So
they've gotten a lot better. Yeah, no, it definitely.
And especially like big sensor to big sensor, I don't see any particular advantage to having this 108 megapixel sensor over the 48 megapixel sensors when we're dealing with similar image sensor size. So again, I'm going to have more to say, and we're not really focused on cameras and photography and stuff like that, but there's so much noise that you make about a Note. And since the Note 4, I've always looked to Samsung as that, like, everything in the kitchen sink, no compromises,
absolutely,
all the bells and whistles. And I don't have that feeling anymore from the Note 10 on, where I feel like that's what Samsung is doing.
It's also because of the Note line. It did have a pivoting moment in the Note 10 line. They changed. They went from the Note 10 to the Note 10 Plus, and they gave you a slightly different experience. You had, just actually the aesthetics of the phone look different. The smaller display, the 1080p resolution over the Quad HD, the experience started to change as of last year's Note line. It carried over to the S20 line, where we now have a plethora of S20 phones, where the Ultra is very unique, not just on the optics, but also in the experience. And then Note continued it, but I felt like in 2020 at the end of the year, the Note 20 had a very rough start. I think it was, in my opinion, priced too high at the beginning, which the price is adjusted now. But the experience between the two, the 20 and the 20 Ultra, it's a very big gap. And the way Samsung, I feel like, was doing is more like trying to say, look, this is a good entry level, but if you really want to get the meat of what we want to do as far as Notes functionality, you really need to go to the Ultra for an extra $300 more. So that was, yeah.
I appreciate that comment. I'm kind of torn because I agree with you. I feel like the Note 20 exists to upsell people who have FOMO to get the Note 20 Ultra. You don't want to miss out on the true crown jewel experience. You might not want to buy the $1,000 phone. You might want to buy the $1,300 phone. But I honestly,
those are big numbers to play around, by the way. Yes.
But I honestly do feel it's tricky. If you're Samsung, you need to play the spec sheet game and you need to put on all the right letters and acronyms and giggle flips and megapixels, and everything needs to be the biggest and the bestest, right?
Exactly.
So that's what it costs. The reality of using the Note, it's very interesting. Like, I did a by the benchmarks write-up where
I saw that one. Yes.
I tested the video rendering, I tested
Mm-hmm.
file compression, I tested image stabilization plugins. Like, when you're using it real world, I can't demonstrate UFS 3. There is
No.
nothing you can point to that demonstrates the better, more expensive storage as delivering a tangible benefit to the end user experience. I can't demonstrate where having more RAM on a Samsung makes a substantial difference. And I can only demonstrate the 865 Plus in very narrow ways. Like, I get 3 to 5 more frames per second in Bright Ridge when I'm
Mm-hmm.
playing it at max graphics settings. So for every single bullet point, that's what that bullet point costs. This is rightfully a $1,300 phone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried that the person who picks this up won't be able to discern $1,300 worth of performance when it's compared against OnePlus 8 Pros, LG V60s,
I was just about to say the V60, if anything. Yes, definitely.
S20 FEs. Like, it's in these very ultra specific niche features that I feel like that $1,300 makes sense.
Yes.
But if you put everything that this phone has, if you put everything into the phone that is in the Note, that's what this phone should cost. It really is a $1,300 device.
No, and that's why I kind of geared toward it at the beginning when we talked about the Note 20 Ultra as opposed to the Note 20. I don't think the Note 20 line is not worthy of the name. I think they have enough detail, the features to feed it, but I felt like some of the compromises done on the Note 20 were great, more than we normally see to make that difference. And it, like I said, it kind of almost feels like you go in there and you look at the Note 20, you're like, this is great, but this guy has way more for a little bit more, and that gets me the best experience. It was truly a path to it. I did end up returning my Note 20. I purchased both, actually, the 20 and the 20 Ultra. And the Note 20 kind of just struck me, not only because of the SD card support, but also because of the limited amount of storage options that we had. There was only 128, and
because
in
tell me,
2020,
even on something silly like the Wing, it's not necessary, but it is nice having.
It is nice having 250. It's nice to have expandable storage. It's nice to have other options. At the end of the day, so I don't want to make it too long of a conversation over just the Note 20 line of the device, because obviously there's another contender in the conversation. I do want to do a quick shout out to our buddy Fat Produce.
Andrew Super Chat here as our transition.
But I want to start it off by saying, first and foremost, congratulations to Andrew and the Mrs. Mr. and Mrs. Fat Produce. Obviously, it's not the last name. On getting married last Sunday, we had a live stream. The show, absolutely congratulations. So everybody in the comments, if you don't mind, please congratulate Andrew and make sure to just hashtag him all over the place. Mr. Congratulations.
Now, as being like truthfully living the nerd lifestyle, the geek lifestyle, his vows to his wife were charming. Were emotionally tear-jerking, and even included a quote from Miles O'Brien of Star Trek: The Next Generation. And,
it was beautiful.
And it was so nerdcore that it worked so well. His ceremony was beautiful. He streamed it for some.
I was going to say, there was a live stream, guys. We got a chance to see it live.
He again, in living his truth, his wedding was on Twitch, because he is a
hardcore to the bone. It would have been the only thing that could have made it even better if he was playing Call of Duty at the same time with the right hand as he was reading his vows. That would have been me, Andrew. I'm not saying you're trying to top it off, but if you want my input, you should have showed up to the Call of Duty party later on. Anyways,
bachelor party on
I was like, so Andrew, Matt, Sam, and I have been playing Call of Duty. We're trying to basically coordinate a weekly, like, hey, who's available? Who wants to play? So we've been jumping in on free games. So yeah, no, definitely. It's a fun little squad. We got a quad going on. Always open to bring in a new fifth player again, Juan Carlos, if you ever want to,
I'm
jump
awful
in.
at it. It would be hilarious to watch me fumble.
But it would be fun to everybody. I'm not
It
trying to
would
say
be
that.
fun for
It would be
everybody
fun
else.
for everybody. But to his comment, though, how's it going back and forth to and from single screen experience? So basically, I've been between the Note 20 Ultra since using the Duo and the LG screen devices. So he's referencing, obviously. So the Duo has two displays. The Note 20 Ultra has a single display, does not have a secondary display option. But a dual, like an LG option, which is what we're getting here, is the ability of actually using multiple displays, right? So we have the V60 here, which, by the way, Andrew has one as well, and I think that's where the conversation is stemming from. I would say, well, thank you very much again for the super chat. First, we'll start off right out the bat. Juan, did you want to take a stab at this one, or do you want me to start off and we can go from there? How does it feel?
I can kind of keep my my thoughts on this a little simpler, where I am all in on dual display multitasking.
Yes.
I really do think this is the best compromise of having a more durable device
Mhm.
and having more screen real estate. And I missed it way more than I thought I was going to, going from the Surface Duo, which obviously takes a second place finish for just raw processing power.
Mhm.
But I find that the Note is not as all situations flexible. So,
True.
I'm out and about, and I'm using this big slab of phone, and it feels like I'm having to push pause on my day more frequently than if I were
Mhm.
using something like a Wing. I can't put it down like I can put down a Surface or a V60. It seemed to interrupt more, where it
Mhm.
would have had the advantages on the stuff that I'm not doing as much. Like if I were out at a trade show and taking notes on a press conference, that was one of the things I loved about notes in the past, was it literally just became a notepad.
Exactly.
And I feel like I could probably have done that just as well on a Surface Duo, flipping it over into single screen mode.
Exactly.
Now, what the Note succeeds at is being a much better computer. And for as much as I missed the actual phone use of having an extra display or having a larger canvas to play with, it was way better on the next dock. I mean, LG's improvements to their desktop mode are commendable, but nothing is touching DeX. So as soon as I sit down,
I
the first thing I
yeah.
want to do is plug this into a dock so that
I
I'm
would.
not using it like a phone.
The perfect example also that we can both kind of tie into. I literally just posted my video on the next stock yesterday.
That's right.
I finally got it out. We both got the same hardware at the same time, roughly. I think about the same time.
Yeah, I beat you there,
I
but you've been smoking me on the phone video, so I think it's
I
a fair,
yeah,
fair trade.
I even got a call from the guys. They're like, "Hey, are you okay? Everything's cool?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's just Techtober." Um, yes, I am totally with you, which is why I wanted to kind of like shift to it from a single point of reference. If you're just talking device the way it is on its own, yes, I'm totally with you. Having two displays on the phone, which will always trump having one. And Samsung does not have any solution. They're not even considering having a secondary display accessory for any of their devices. So it's not like it's something you can kind of say, well, you could buy something. I think LG wins the game when it comes down to the Maverick of all devices. When I put the three devices, like if we look at them in a V kind of style, right? We have the Note 20 Ultra on one side, the Duo on the top. I feel like this is literally the Maverick between the two, because as to Andrew's kind of reference over there, this is the one. You take it out, it becomes a single phone. It runs exactly like the Note 20. I mean, not exactly when it comes down to the functionality of the S Pen, but it actually has input, stereo speakers, massive battery, great camera system, stereo speakers. Did I say that? I'm sorry. A headphone jack, SD card support. And if you want to pimp it out and you really want to be able to do, go multi-screen, you get that experience. Now, it doesn't do one better than the other. So what I mean by this, when it goes to dual screen, this does not trump the Duo. The Duo still does dual screen way better.
And
When
the Note definitely is more refined for that single screen stylus. But
Exactly.
but the V60 manages to land, I think, the best compromised idea of both.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if we're talking full MSRP to MSRP, the Note and the Duo are pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
The V60 means I've got the V60, I've got the dual display case. I go out and buy a Wacom, a full price,
Bamboo.
a Wacom
Yep.
stylus. I get a 256 gig memory card, and I still have cash left over for some really nice cabled headphones to make use of that quad DAC.
I was going to say a lot of cash. Yes.
And I'm probably still under the price tag of a Note 20 Ultra. And that to me becomes the most difficult part of this to walk away from is feature set to feature set. I feel like the Note wins almost every single individual little showdown, right?
Yes.
1080p displays, but one's at 120 hertz.
Exactly.
UFS storage, but UFS 3 to UFS 2.1. Stylus support versus a stylus that's built into the phone. The stylus silo is built into the phone.
Tongue twister right there. Yes.
But considering what a full price LG V60 looks like against a full price Note 20 Ultra, are the compromises so severe that you wouldn't want to save $300, $400, $500, and also knowing that the V60 you're probably going to find
in our first stutter. So I think we both froze. I'll give it a second for Quan.
Oh, am I back? You kind of paused on me. I have no idea who's actually
and we're back
casting here.
Yeah, no, it happens every once in a while. So are you back? Can you see me?
I think I'm you're slide showing a little bit, but I can hear you. So I think we're
okay. How about now? How's this?
Yeah, you're moving now.
Okay. We are. Okay, we're back. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Wherever I got cut off there or I got interrupted, I feel like people probably understood the point I was trying to make. But
yes,
again, compromises aren't bad. Compromises should help us specify a price performance tier.
Exactly.
And yes, it is great having all the bestest on a Note Ultra. I don't know that really is reflected at that high of a price in the real world user experience. And it's not indomitable. Like even in performance testing, the V60 manages to take some significant victories in a handful of very specific applications that if that's what you're into, you wouldn't want to spend more on the Note to get poorer performance. So
they're closer in specs when it comes to processing power as well. They're both running the same chipset. Yeah. So same chipset, same
865 plus versus 865. And I think we actually get to see that the 865 plus with a high refresh rate display and a smaller battery isn't the jam for the best road warrior longevity, like how long I can use my phone out in the field.
We should have had a 5000 there for sure there. Yes.
And it's really interesting to me where you add up everything that the Note has with the smaller battery and the performance hit for having that higher refresh rate display is very similar to using two apps at the same time.
Yes,
on the V60.
It does actually impact, which is something that you have to also keep in mind. Even though the V60 doesn't carry a higher refresh rate, it does 60 frames per second really nicely. Like 60 frame across, it's a smooth UI. Everything is really optimized. And the display, the secondary display that you get is exactly the same panel as the first one. So you're not looking at which LG has done in the past. We're not trying to say they didn't do it. So in the past, they've used two separate panels or two different resolutions, which compromise the V50, and that changed the experience. But since the G8X, they went down to 1080, but they've improved it so much. And I know we were talking V60 only, but guys, keep in mind, there is something else called the Velvet that also is available in the US market that has a more maybe budget-friendly version in the sense that from the processing power to what the V60 offers. And then, of course, obviously, the cool T in my TK Bay here, the LG Wing, which
that phone's gonna fit you to a T.
I agree, my friend. I agree. And I've been flipping this thing too many times. I think honestly, if there's ever one thing I would say about the phone that I really wish there was is if I wish they had the fingerprint sensor on the bottom display as well as the top one. Too. Because 90% of the time I end up doing this. I open and try to unlock it. I'm like, okay, I gotta remember the pin.
sneak preview or spoiler alert, that's a major part of the end of my conclusion video for the wing. Exactly
Okay.
what you just said. So what I've
That's
done, on the
uh-huh.
wing is I have to have something Bluetooth paired with it, and then I go
Oh,
into the
it
security settings.
disables. Yeah.
So it
And
disables the fingerprint sensor because you
absolutely.
want, I'm telling you, if you guys ever pick up a wing, you want that Star Trek style flip to
Flip
be
then
the
use.
action that turns it on. It's so
Exactly.
satisfying.
Uh but like I said, anyway, so I don't want to make this into a wing conversation, a side wing. But I did want to acknowledge real quick before it goes too far. Greg, thank you very much for supporting TK hashtag
Oh, right
TKR.
on, Greg.
I appreciate it as well. So before we go too far, let me see if there's any kind of quick questions. Did you notice anything that you wanted to answer real quick
Well, I
before?
mean, this is just one point that Gregory brought up, and because he just hit you with a super chat, I know
I
Juan
appreciate it.
paid way too much on my Pixel 4 XL. The more we get away from the launch of the Pixel 4 XL, the
Mhm.
more it is a travesty how people complained about the price of that phone.
Yeah,
Playing with the Pixel 5, it's a great mid-ranger communicator small form factor experience. There really
absolutely.
isn't anything else in the Android ecosystem as small with 5G and a goodly sized battery. So you can miss me with Galaxy S20 FEs. If I want the smallest form factor, that's literally the only option for Android. And it's right in there with an iPhone 12 in terms of
Mhm.
size for $200 less. The same kinds of cameras, reverse wireless charging, and a higher refresh rate display. I feel Google has been positioning the Pixel very well against iPhones. The Pixel 4 XL is still the fastest phone I've ever run through any kind of image manipulating task. If it's
Yep.
rendering video, it smokes A13s. I haven't put it up against an A14 just yet. It smokes 865s. And we're talking by differences of greater than 10%. Anyone
It,
who was complaining about the performance of a Pixel 4 XL is bad at phones. Full stop. I mean, I'm serious. If you, it's too expensive. It is the most powerful portable image manipulating platform we have ever seen and continues to be so today. So again, if you don't do things on your phone and you're some normie who only opens up Facebook and maybe you check on your Reddits from time to time, you don't need the power of neural core on a Pixel 4 XL, but that doesn't mean it's not the most powerful.
that's true, and it actually, in many ways, is more powerful than the current Pixel 5, even though it's a predecessor to it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not a direct continuation. I'm
yeah,
frustrated with Google for using the
yeah.
same nomenclature. It should be
The
called
number,
something different.
yeah, that because you expect, like, you go from a 4X. If you had a 4XL and you go in, it's like, hey, show me what's the new Pixel 5, and you're like, wait, what? Hold on. The design's very different, but I still commend Google for really focusing on, because we were both part of the same conversation. We went to the Team Pixel event. We heard exactly what what was the target reasoning, why the Pixel 5 is the Pixel 5. And the reality of the matter is it was very heavily influenced by price. They wanted to get that right combination ratio of feature set and price point. Coincidentally, it's available for $499 on Verizon now, and I'm like, what? It's even cheaper. So let's just say that. But yeah, definitely, Greg's done a lot of work on ROMing and modifying the Pixel 4 XL and running it with the Unicorn ROM and working with Maxley. So
And
there's a
and
lot of other
and
things as well.
the cool thing is if neural core on Pixel 4 is any indication of what Google can do to design their own custom hardware, you should be
Yeah,
very excited if they do pull off custom silicon fabbed by Samsung. That will
I hope.
that will be a monster device if Google can pull it off. It's frustrating because you want to look at, it's got a Snapdragon 855 and it's not good enough. And that's like, you can say that, but that means you've absolutely not used it. If you've used it, you would know that that's
You would know why the
inaccurate.
Pixel 4 XL is one of my favorite devices of all time. That was the only way I can describe it is that it was the first phone I had a very hard time taking my SIM card out of. I really
Mhm.
struggled removing my SIM.
Last
And
last year, the Pixel 4 kept my SIM card longer than any other phone, and I'm known as the LG shill guy.
I exactly, and so to say that just shows how much I mean, realistically, it's a challenge for us,
Yeah.
and
But
it
but
is
we should get
always.
back. I didn't mean to sidetrack the conversation that hard. It's
No,
just
no, no.
I get very I get very defensive about Pixel 4 because I feel
And
it
I
was
always keep it
probably
at arm's reach. It never
mine's
leaves.
on the table behind me. I just feel
Mine,
like it
yeah.
was my first primary example last year of how awful the spec sheet reviewing conversation has gotten. So we always
Yes.
know that LG will never really get a fair review if it's just a straight up phone to straight up phone. They need to do something ridiculous for anyone to pay attention to them in the slightest. But anyone who was out there poo-pooing the Pixel 4 and just reading off the specs and saying it's too expensive for the specs, then I knew immediately that they don't really do anything with their phones.
I
And that's
swear I
fine.
need to get a gif of that. It's
You
too
you can
expensive for this.
spend
No, sorry.
$900 on a phone just to check your Facebook or do a speed app run where you just open a bunch of apps to test
Yes.
the RAM. That's not using a phone. If you really use your phone and you want the most powerful, well, in an application where you're manipulating image data, photos, videos,
Yes.
etc., you missed out. You missed out big.
No, and I think it's just what ended up happening is I realized, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Some people do fall into the spec conversation, and it is at the end of the day the easiest method to show
Well,
comparisons. But
this to me is, I think, a good transition point because one of the killer conversations and some of the things that I think even in this live chat people have been most concerned about. You went from a Note 20 Ultra with a Snapdragon 865
65
Plus
and 5G.
and 5G to a Surface Duo with an 855, which obviously could only have made you throw up in your mouth on a daily basis over just how woefully outdated and underpowered that chipset is, because it can't do anything now.
No, actually, it can't. I was
It's
crying on a consistent basis.
a year old. It is completely non-functional. It can't do anything.
I
You
don't know
can't
why they even
game on
released
it.
it. That's
It
how
doesn't
bad it
open
was.
apps anymore. The
Nope.
855 is so old now that you would, I mean, like, basically, I'm sure you were just using it as like a doorstop because it's thin enough to like shove
It
under
works
a door.
perfectly, actually. That's the right mechanism, the hinge mechanism, which I think a lot of people complimented this tool. You open it at 90 degrees, guys. Set it, slide right under the door, and then you
Right
just
under a door.
yeah, it works perfectly. The magnets will connect to anything metal around it.
Magnets, how do they work? You know,
the magnets actually, it's one of my favorite features. You can stick a pen to it if you ever want to, and if you take the pen, it sticks again. Yes, that was one of the biggest criticism that we saw on the Surface Duo, right? It's the fact that it's a very, first and foremost, the design is absolutely phenomenal. There's no question about that. It is, and I second everybody's opinion. Once you hold it in your hand and you see the mechanism, how the actual just the hinge mechanism work, the fact that you can fold it all the way up using it as a full out, both displays to the outside, or and you can see your notifications running there in a fingerprint sensor. There's a lot of design. There's a lot of work in there, and that attributed to the delay in the release of this device. It took over a year. We first heard about it last year, and of course, it got released almost at the end of this year. So short answer, yes. But does that change the experience outside of 5G? No. The fact of the matter is, at least in the current state of 5G in the US, we don't have this the ultra wideband, like what we're seeing with some devices right now, are unique experiences within a certain small footprint area next to a tower that you can really demonstrate that to the 200, like when you do that, the 2 gigabits down or whatever. At the end of the day, your average speed is going to be what I'm getting with this, which is about 100 or so, depending on the tower and where you are. So 4G LTE, at least in the US right now, which is the primary market for this device, is very much the same experience. The 855, in my opinion, does not really play a big factor in here for me, because when you take the 855 and you give it a very light installation of a launcher and the overall, I would say, the layers of features that are added on top of a certain experience on a device, it changes the experience. This is why some devices need 12 gigs of RAM or 10 gigs of RAM, and some devices run perfectly fine with 6 or 8. It depends on how the OEM or the company that puts it together gives you that experience. Now, I'm not going to say it's 100% buttery smooth exactly all the time. It's gotten a lot better.
Because you got the major.
I did get the major update. Yes.
Did you also piggyback on the launcher betas?
So the launcher beta 2 as well as the SwiftKey beta 2. the
Okay.
Swifty beta.
That
So
that
I
helped
took your
me tremendously
yes.
in smoothing out some of those little software gremlins. And once I was
It's
using, because
once
I
in a
didn't
while.
get,
Yeah,
yeah, it's still twitchy.
yeah. It
Um,
very
but
very seldomly.
but we're not talking about an underpowered chipset. The
No.
855
Yeah.
is demonstrably more powerful than a 765. Like, again, it's not close at
This is
all.
exactly the same as Pixel 4 XL to Pixel 5. It's 855. It's
Well,
in the same
I'm
step. I mean,
I get pissy about Pixel 4 because neural core, I think, is what's really making Pixel 4 faster. But
yeah, yeah. No.
to your point, one of the things I was very surprised about are all of the little software hitches. I've been reading. So, I mean, this is really my first experience with Samsung this year was the
Mhm.
Note 20 Ultra. I completely screwed the pooch on the Galaxy S series because social distancing and global calamity, right?
Yes.
So I
It started right
misplaced.
after their announcement, by the way, which is kind of, at least for us for the US. Yeah.
I mean, it's basically Samsung's fault, really, if you think about it. Sorry, that was really snarky. Um, I completely missed the S20. So all this time, I'm reading up on people who are really using One UI, and man, it's just so smooth. And my phone never lags. And as soon as I fire up the camera on the Note 20 Ultra, I'm trying to move through modes, and their pretty animations are making everything like judder.
Yeah.
And you're like, that is exactly what we're talking about when we use this heavy skin. Samsung is using these ridiculous hardware components, and all of that performance advantage seems to be getting sucked up by heavier custom software, which has to run on top of the phone. First of all, because Android is not smart enough to handle stylus enabled, the multitasking
No.
capabilities of the Note, having DeX built in, just like Android's not smart enough to really know what to do with dual displays. These companies are jumping through insane hoops to make these things happen. But I put this next to like a V60,
Mhm.
and LG is getting panned for not as nice software, but by not having these dopey animations in a camera app, everything is more fluid. Everything is more responsive. The camera performs better because it's not trying to make me feel good about the pretties. And that's the kind of stuff that drives me crazy. So
Yeah.
if I have to pick up a Surface Duo with an 855 with a few software bugs, I mean, there are some
But they're
significant
getting
gremlins,
they're getting better. They're getting better. Yes.
but even with some significant gremlins for orientation, I
Yes.
still kind of like the UI experience better for trying to run multiple apps at the same time than all of the extra gestures and hoops that I have to jump through on a Note. Even something as dopey as turning the phone off, Samsung had to go and copy Apple. And so now you hold the power button and the volume rocker. If I want to change the screen brightness, it's two swipes to slide my notification shade down to get to a screen brightness indicator.
Mhm.
All of these things are not better. This is not good design, especially when we're talking about how big this phone is.
It's one of the biggest, actually it's bigger, the biggest actually, if I'm not mistaken. It's bigger than the S20 Ultra by ever so small of a margin. And it's mostly because of the boxier size. Um, no, I'm with you. I agree. I think the 855 is a very capable processor. So I would not even, my approach to this when I started looking into it, I never looked at it as an underpowered device. I looked at it as a more optimized user experience for multitasking type of a device. That's my approach to looking at the Surface Duo. Because as we said at the first time when we did the exchange, it wasn't the first time I had my hands on it. I played with it a little bit at the Best Buy store, and I also had a unit in the office for a couple of days. Not a long enough time to get a truly full experience, the way we've had for about a month now. Which is also, by the way, even though we had a delay, I appreciated having the extra time. I know Juan wanted what has numerously mentioned on social media, even on his stream, that I'm holding it hostage. Um, I promise you guys, it is will only be held hostage for an additional less than
No,
24
I
hours.
mean, like,
We'll get it. We'll
joking
get it back
aside,
to his daddy, and it'll be fine.
all joking aside, I mean, I'm really glad I got to spend a little bit longer because I feel like if we had really stuck to 2 weeks, Samsung's One UI is now so unfamiliar to me as a
Hmm.
daily driver, where I was leaning hard on Pixel and LG last year. And this year I've been leaning a lot harder on OnePlus on Android 10. And now I kind of
True.
feel like the rug's been pulled out from under me now going to Android 11 on OnePlus and how much they've changed their UI. I think
They've
if I had only
done
done 2 weeks, I would have just been in the pure frustration zone with Samsung just because it was so different.
There's a
Um,
lot. There's a lot of
there's
change,
so
and
much.
there's also, which is coincidentally, One UI 3.0 that's already out in beta. So I'm running One UI 3.0, which also brings a whole bunch of new things that they're
Yeah.
trying to do. But before I go too far, I don't want to forget a couple of guys. Just I know this is somewhat of a sidetrack. Ronaldo's throwing that question in my tech reviews. He's wanting to throw in a little bit. I don't know if you guys also heard. XDA is going to be in the gaming. It's not the gaming, in the phone game. Sorry, not the gaming. I said it wrong, Ronaldo. Sorry, I should have said it better. So if you're familiar or if you've ever heard of a company called FX Tech, they released a phone not that long ago called the Pro One. So surprisingly, I actually have one of the Pro One phones.
Wait a minute, but that only has a Snapdragon 835.
35. Oh my God. Yeah, I know. But it has a full size keyboard, my friend. It has a full size keyboard. It even talks. No. So short answer. What I think the Ronaldo's question is he's wondering more about the FX Tech is running an 835 chipset, 3-year-old chipset now, obviously. But it's also running basically a Lineage OS. It's one of the more popular ROMs on the market, as well as Ubuntu Touch, which is going to be running their desktop experience based off of that device. So they are trying to approach a very specific, and of course, with XDA's influence into the basically the security, the customizations, the ROM, the rooting, all of that stuff. Do you feel like Android 11 stock beats or trumps a Lineage or custom OS version of Lineage with Ubuntu Touch? Like if you had a choice between the same hardware, again, this version of the phone with Android 11 or this version with Lineage and Ubuntu Touch, would you choose that one over if you had to pick?
For me, and I'm not saying as a recommendation for anyone else, I would most want to test drive on Ubuntu. I am so desperate for any other competition in this space that's the one I'm the most morbidly curious about.
Absolutely.
Could we find any platform to develop a third place? And by design, it's not going to be the equal sales numbers to Android or iOS. We just need anyone in this space purposely going after third place. They want that bronze medal so that we can start pushing Apple and Google to really iterate on the next generation of
and actually go into it realistically. That my hope is that for these things to come out, so that Google does actually finally roll out the desktop mode, because we still don't see it.
But I think for a lot of enthusiasts and for who FX Tech might really seriously be trying to shop as an enthusiast brand, I think Lineage is probably the better way to go.
It absolutely. I think if you've ever used a custom ROM, or at least specifically Lineage OS overall, like even back in the day when CyanogenMod was a big thing, the reality is Lineage has always been the most flexible, customizable, secure, including Magix if you like to use root or anything to that effect. But on top of that, having Ubuntu Touch, I feel like it's the right combination.
And for the chipset support, again,
absolutely.
if we're talking Android 11, there is some performance sapping. It seems to be every other year. Like the update from Android 8 to Android 9 seemed to come with a bigger performance hit, and then from Android 9 to 10, I felt like we kind of floated. Now from 10 to 11, I feel like there's another pretty performance hit that's happening to some of our devices.
I think it's an optimization. It's it needs to be optimized. And I think to date, outside of OnePlus and Color OS with Oppo, honestly, when I start seeing like Android 11, I think Pixel's doing great. I think One UI 3.0 running 11 is still very buggy, but it's beta, so I can't really fault them. But just to see what was possible with the Find X2 Pro on the Oppo on Oppo with Color OS 11 for me was like night and day. It's almost like it's a different phone. But yes, so to answer your question there, Ronaldo, that I agree. I think we're both a Lineage with Ubuntu all the way, mostly because of the chipset as we're kind of going through, but it also that form factor really appeals to a lot of the nerds, the old Nokia nerds. If you ever really look into it, and they banked on it the first time when they came out with the FX Pro, the Pro One, and I feel like this new version is definitely going to be a hit, and
All right,
it's
we
doing quite
also
well.
we got to get to Andrew's question here too.
Yeah,
Before
I
we
will
dive
jump
back into
over
phones.
right there. Andrew brings us back into the game. Thank you again, Andrew. All right, ultimate question: small stylus that can be stored inside the phone, or big stylus can be stored on the outside of the phone. Go. Okay. I'll go with that one first, since we did the last spin he got us. Um, Using both of them, I'm not going to deny the fact that having the stylus stick to the outside of the phone is a very nice experience. If you notice, I chose not to use the bumper cases. I kept it without the bumper. Now, Juan Carlos was very nice. He didn't even open the bumper cases. He left them for me. He said, if you want to use them, TK, go at it. I honestly thought I was going to go for it. I decided not to. And that's mostly because I wanted to make sure that this doesn't get hindered at all.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, without it, the phone is just so, it's just
So
the form factor.
thin.
It's very nice. It's easy to handle. And the pen is also nice in case if I want to take it out with me, I know where to put it. I can put it in the same pocket. Now, it doesn't stay there. You do need to take care of it, obviously. That goes without saying. If I had to choose between the two, I mean, at the end of the day, I would say for portability, yes, Note wins on that because technically he's in there. But I like the fact that this actually feels like a regular size pen. This is a pen. This is not. I was going to pull out a note, but I don't have a note. The stylus on this is actually, and there's different versions, by the way. There you can buy this one, which looks like this is the original Surface Pen. And yeah, so you could definitely see that one is a very thin. Okay, now for scale, kind of like we need to kind of bring it in.
Let me get my Wacom.
Yeah, so that's the best way to say it. So here, thank you again, Andrew. I'm just going to take this one for the picture. So for point of reference, that's the Wacom, which I also have here. And you could see that the pen is literally about the same thickness of it. So we're not talking difference in performance. This feels like a pen. I would like the Surface Pen more for writing because I feel like I'm holding a pen more. The texture for it works fine. They both have click functionality. They both have interfaces. And there is also a different version. You can use the other Surface Pen that comes with the Surface laptops on the Surface Duo. It's not limited to this version. This was the one that Juan included in the package that comes with the nice external charger.
So you're feeling like external stylus, and it's not too much of a deal breaker missing the stylus.
Yeah, I think the silo's nice, but I like to use a phone with a pen that feels like a pen as opposed to having to kind of like adjust to a smaller pen. But yeah,
I mean, like it's silly. It's just so much nicer. It's a big chunky pen. When I'm doing those, even when I'm doing those doodles, because I'm not really much of an artist, but I used to do a lot of cartoons in high school and stuff, and I'm just kind of scribbling out, or I'm trying to copy my favorite starships. Like I'll have a picture of the Excelsior on one screen, and I'm trying to copy it on the other screen. This is just more meat to hold on to. What for me, it's a little bit less though whether or not you like the individual pen, and more the reality of putting something else in the phone means we've got to carve out space for it. And while this is great to always immediately have access to it, it lives in here. This is going to be probably less losable for people that are a little more careless with pens and stuff. It also means going with the smaller battery. And I just don't know how you do something like that on a phone that the whole point of it is to be as radically thin as the Surface. Like there's no more room. It's literally the only phone I think that's ever been made where I truly believe
there was no room to do anything
else. There's no more
Yeah.
room. They could not have put a headphone jack on it because a headphone jack is thicker than the phone is.
I was going to say exactly they would have like, you want a headphone jack, the phone has to be at least a little bit bigger than the headphone jack itself.
Oh, the casing around your USB-C connector is thicker than the phone is.
Yes.
There's just nothing you can do. And so, I mean, like the magnets are there for whatever, kind of accessibility or lifestyle help. But, V60 benefits from having a great Wacom pen support. You don't need it. You're not paying for it if you're not trying to use it. It's not built into it like the Note is. And then you get a larger battery because there's just more room for it on the inside.
LG
That
did a
now has
lot of good
become
things with the V60. They absolutely. It's one of those where I was sitting at the briefing with you and I was sitting through it, and every single bullet point they went through, I was like, wow,
oh,
wow.
that's a good idea.
Fine.
They this isn't a compromise. They really thought about
It was thought out.
LG's strategy on the V60, I think, is so successful just because it's modular.
Yeah.
If you buy a Note, you are buying the
The
Note.
Note,
If you
exactly.
buy a V60, you could have a Fold competitor, a Note competitor. It rocks against DApps, so you don't need a high quality media player.
Mhm.
It kind of becomes whatever phone you want it to be. And it's a
Exactly.
very different philosophy. Like out of the box, it's a very good, big, normal, powerful phone. And then you add a couple accessories and it becomes something very specific to what you need. And
Yes.
I don't feel that way about the Note anymore. I feel like the Note used to exist in a similar idea. Like it's the graphics or art tablet phone. It's the work and productivity phone. It's the content creation phone. And now I
It
feel
just
like
it
I'm
hasn't
paying
changed. The message of the Note hasn't
and
changed for years. That's,
and
I
I
think,
feel
what the
like
problem.
I'm spending so much to get everything that this really isn't doing everything better price performance.
Exactly. Yes.
Like
And
I'm
I'm
really adding up dollar to performance. It's not winning like the Note used to, like a Note 4 just steamrollered over the rest of the Android landscape. The
it
Note
is using.
20 is just really good, and it should be because it's also really expensive.
Well, yes, and the Note 20, like I said, it was a weird. Like I, even at the launch event when I saw it, I mean, part of me was excited the fact that the Note 20 had a flat display over the curved edges, which I think that you could go. And we're back.
Hey, there you are.
It's
Whenever you
StreamYard's
freeze,
way of
I think
telling
I'm
us.
just gonna freeze too.
Just for reference, from my point of view, you freeze first and I freeze second. So
Okay,
it's
perfect.
the exact experience. Um, real quick, thank you very much to Kevin for the super chat. Appreciate
Oh,
that
right
very
on, Kevin.
much.
Thanks, man.
Hope you're doing well. And to go back kind of to, and I actually almost thought my thought process right there. I don't remember. It's kind of weird. I can't even remember the conversation starting point. But I think what we looked at it. I think with the Note 20 is we're recovering essentially is that there is a flat display where some people would enjoy that, but it was just so different. I mean, the touch responsiveness on the S Pen is actually lower because of the lower refresh rate, and it was actually noticeable. I tested both in front of me, and I'm like, well, why would you do that? That was my only thing. I feel like the Note 20 is closer to the Note 10 than it is to the Note 20 Ultra, with the exception of the modem and the 5G. So, short answer, I think we have the right two devices to compare. So let's start kind of talking a little bit more, maybe some experiences and so on. I realized I think we talked a little bit during the time as far as certain things, certain functionalities, audio, and so on. Um, I did not focus, or we didn't want to make cameras part of this experiment, mostly because
Not the heaviest focus, yeah.
I mean, well, I also feel like it's not a real competition to put in between the Note 20 Ultra having 4 cameras.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, that's a pretty easy
Yeah.
loss for the Duo. I mean,
Well, but I
no
also feel like,
one's
you're not buying the Duo for the amazing camera performance that you have. I
but
think
it's perfectly adequate considering it's the tablet you would want to use for Zoom calls and then still being able to reference a spreadsheet at the same time. Like
absolutely for Zoom
Microsoft
calls, for
built it
Skype
around that,
calls. Yes.
and it's very clear that they have succeeded in
Oh, and
their
you know what? And honestly, in good lighting, it's for casual pictures here and there. It's not going to
well, so
massively disappoint. Yeah.
yeah, here's a part of the other part of this conversation are the people that we know in our circles of family and friends who primarily use the selfie shooter on their phones.
Yeah.
And what you have on the Duo is a very good
The
selfie
11
shooter,
megapixels. Yeah.
but it's the only camera on that phone. So are you going to be a wildlife photographer taking beautiful flower macros? They're going to be okay. But the whole point of it is having that front facing camera experience be as solid as possible for both business productivity and then also just for that casual snapshotty sort of feel. And when judged by that, it's fine. I like the camera on the Duo better than I like the selfie shooter on the OnePlus 8s that we got this year.
Yeah, no.
Um,
It's
but yeah.
also for call, like you said before, though. I love propping it. I love the
Mhm,
ability that it's a built-in prop that I can actually just set it
mhm,
on a table, use the experience, even if I'm not using the second display, but I'm just using it only alone for this function alone. It works really nice for me. I like that. I like, it's like I said, so for me, it was mostly Zoom calls. And also I took a couple of pictures one time. We were with my son and I just decided to just like, hey, how does it look? I turned it around and of course just switched over the experience. And then I was able to use the camera on the back. So it does work. But I feel like what we wanted to focus on was just how does it handle your daily activity as far as
mhm.
multitasking. Um, I truly and for reference point, I'm also going to pull some reference from the V60 because that's the closest comparison.
Absolutely.
Nothing against the Note 20 Ultra, and I've also used the Note 20 Ultra. Um, Having two screens run independent from each other to run two separate apps in the right aspect ratio is
Mhm,
worth more than running them in split screen mode on one device, top, bottom, or even side to side. The
mhm.
experience is very different. You're getting a cropped view over a reformatted view of a field. So it's like almost like saying, "Look, I can pick up two bags of something, but I'm barely lifting it off the ground, as opposed to picking up one bag and I'm lifting it really up, basically with two hands." The two display function works way better. The Fold, sorry, the V60 does a similar experience, but I
Mhm.
feel like the aspect ratio kind of still throws it off. It's not really, it's not wide enough for me when I'm trying to work on, let's say, something like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or any of those social media
Well,
apps that
and for how
tend to
poor
have,
our social media app experience is on Android in general,
in general, and not optimized. They never. It's almost like
they only focus on iPhones.
it's seriously. I feel like their entire development team is like iPhone, and one guy shows up with Android. If they show up, because I don't think, with the exception of not to bring it back to Pixel too much, but Pixel 4 or Pixel 4 XL was one of the first devices to actually have optimizations done for Snapchat.
Mhm,
That was when they started to use the neural core and actually optimize their systems to work with it, so that you did actually get the same camera experience on that you normally get in your cameras in the camera app on those apps. But
yeah.
we didn't see any other devices get that love. But with that being said, running two apps, swiping between apps, sliding apps, throwing one app from one side to the other. If you want to go full screen, you can go full screen in landscape mode or portrait mode on the Duo. And I cannot explain, but you really have to try it. It's a lot of fun. It's fun and it's productive at the same time. If you want to write a letter and you want to open
Mhm.
up your email client, you open the email client on the top display, and your second display, your full second display, is a keyboard. You
Yep.
can't, even LG's V60. So this is where I wanted to pull a little bit on the V60.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Not as
really
good.
form that, not as good, and you see it that it's actually stretching it, right? It's not exactly the same, so there's still
Mhm.
that separation. And I was like, I still like to Duo. So
So this is the funny thing. We've got like comments in here, and there are a bunch of people that are being really critical of the Duo, and that's fine. You've never held one. There is a massively different philosophy between V60 and Duo. V60 literally is two phones stapled together.
mhm,
They are not really meant to be one continuous canvas. The Duo does not know that it's a dual screen device. The Duo thinks it's a tablet and it's just two screens that happen to kind of split down the middle. It thinks both screens are its full uninterrupted canvas. So this is a, I mean, again, I can't properly express
I'm
this
hoping to
with
get this
words if people have
if
never
that's
held
want to
one,
focus. Yeah,
but
exactly.
the Duo really is not a phone. The Duo, Microsoft has arrived at probably my absolute favorite tablet experience for Android. I do not know of any other tablet that works as well and keeps you multitasking on different apps on the same time on the
Mhm.
same screen, plugs into another display to give you a great single canvas without needing to go into a separate desktop mode. The Duo is a proper tablet that folds up into
Yes.
a half screen use. The V60 is a phone that you can stick another phone side by side. And once you grok those differences, all the rest of this starts to become more clear. Like, I don't understand why so many people have made a big deal out of e-readers, right?
Oh,
So you
yes.
can pull up Kindle and look, I can turn pages. Do you read both screens at the same time? You read
Yep.
one screen at a time.
It's one screen, one word, one line at a time. You don't.
Why would you run two displays at the same time and reduce your battery life when you can only read one page at a time? But anyway, so people seem to be really impressed with this pretty book-like experience. You can't do that on a V60 because a V60 technically doesn't know that it has one bigger canvas. The Duo, you can do this way easier on because it doesn't know it's two
It's
separate
this
screens. It
exactly,
thinks it's one unified display.
and it's clear when you connect it to an external display.
For sure. So again, for people that go out and complain about something being a little wonky on the Duo, it's because it's not familiar. You are not holding a phone. You are holding a tablet. You're holding a Surface that just happens to be powered by Android. But
And
Surfaces don't come in 21 by 9 candy bar form factors.
or 19
Surfaces
and a half by 9 aspect ratio. Yep.
are tablets.
So it truly is. And one of the reasons why I mentioned this is I connected it to the Next Dock Touch yesterday or a few days ago, and I did my video. And you see that once you connect it, the Next Dock shows you the entire desktop. It doesn't show you exactly. It doesn't show you two displays, because if you connect the V60, even if you have the extra display, which you need to use the adapter, it doesn't give you the second display. The second display doesn't exist because it assumes you are the second display or the one that you're connecting it to. So it is, I feel like if I had to look at it from the sense of just true productivity level and multitasking, the ability of opening an two applications and having them run correctly, like if I want to watch a movie or if I want to be able to basically open up a document, take notes. I'm watching a live stream, for example, and I did it a couple of times where I run the live stream on the left display and I'm writing on the right. I'm taking notes, I'm typing. I can do many things, and it's still. It's like I said, the experience out of the box is getting better. Installing the betas on both the launcher and the SwiftKey did improve the experience overall. And it was kind of a coincidence that the moment I got the phone from you, the next day we get the update, right? It was like timing could not have been perfect, but more perfect.
The timing could not have been better for you.
Of course,
wanted to play with that.
It was actually, I could not have planned it better because I was like, I got it. Like, hey, I get the update, and so yeah, no. And I remember you were talking about that on the live stream. Before we go too far, I guess we have a couple more super chat. Davin Davis is jumping in with Note 10 and Note 20 were placeholders. Samsung wanted to retire the Note after the S Plus size phones, but lacked the Apple courage. But the brand was too strong, or so strong.
Maybe
I'm not, there's a lot of rumors. I think Davin's probably feeding into some of those. And again, thank you for the super chat. There's been some rumors that next year that the line of phones are going to be changing. There's going to be new series where the S Pen comes into more devices and it stops becoming a Note only.
I just feel like, again, Samsung's going to get all this like attention for making a move where Galaxy S maybe starts supporting some type of stylus. And if you want the good version of that today, literally every single large screen LG has the same digitizer, from Stylo 6 to Velvet to T-Mobile Velvet to V60 to Wing. All of them support active pens, and it doesn't seem to grossly change the price performance or what the expectations on an LG phone price might be. And then you get to decide for yourself. Literally, it does not hold you back. If you want a stylus enabled phone, you can have one.
Yeah.
If you don't care, it's not adding a significant chunk of cost because LG standardized the display across, what is it now, 4 generations? Four products in 1 year.
Yeah, G8X, V60, Velvet, and wait, no, I think 3, right? Because I think.
Well, it's I'm sorry, I'm thinking Velvet twice.
Velvet, there is 2 different versions. You
Velvet,
did play around with
V60 and Wing all have the same main.
There's the Velvet Snapdragon and there's the Velvet what's it called? MediaTek, which I think the T-Mobile variant was. But yes, yeah. So
Oh,
if
no, I'm sorry. The Stylo does have
oh,
the
okay, yeah,
same digitizer, even though the software doesn't work the same on the Stylo. So it is four. There were
it
four
is.
phones that all had the same.
But one thing
Same.
to say though is it keeps getting better as you move forward. So with the
Mhm.
Velvet, it got a little bit better than the V60, and of course, hopefully,
The
we'll see
wing.
more improvement. The wing, the LG UI actually, seriously, man, every time, every new phone I get to play with it that is an LG this year keeps surprising me. Like seriously, the fluidity, the speed, the functionality, the swipe down to open, notification shade, those little things.
Have you played with the trackpad yet?
I haven't had it. So the I've been stuck with the whole trying to use it as a gimbal now every time, or even when I open up
Right,
YouTube,
right, right.
I jump in and I try to use all. I love the controls on the bottom,
Hold
like
on.
truly just running it. Oh my god!
So what I love, and I'm going to try and back up. This is so nerdy, and I love it so much. So you have two different shades. So you have the bottom screen shade, which is more of like a quick setting, quick access, and then you have
Yes.
the top, which is your normal notification
Yeah,
access.
the two different
You go
sections.
to your bottom and you go to trackpad.
Oh, LG Touch.
So you go to trackpad, and you just get this
Uh,
perfect mouse cursor. Tell me
I got
that's not
yeah.
so nerdy.
That is just crazy.
If you ever
Oh,
wanted to just one thumb fine
one.
point mouse control a
Oh
phone
my.
screen,
This
it
makes
works
this.
so well.
This is a
So
one-handed. It became one-handed
so
entirely.
hold on. Let me I don't know that I'll be able to show this on camera very very
I can
well,
even open
but
up the notification panel. Oh my god, this is oh man. This is so nice. And then you can switch back in here, and then jump into the YouTube interface. Oh my god, this
isn't
is
that
so nice.
cool?
This is yes. So there, I'm still learning. I've only had this literally for I would say maybe 24 hours, almost 40 hours. No, literally almost about 36 hours. I haven't had it long enough. And we froze again.
Wait
Are you
for it.
back?
Wait
We're
for it.
for
Stay on target. Oh, you're back.
Hey, welcome back.
So I'm trying to get the right angle on this because it's really
I,
hard to
it is
show.
very yes. No, no, no.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, right. Oh, okay, okay. I see what you mean. Okay, okay. You're playing it. Okay.
This is easier when I'm not trying to mug for the camera.
Well, you got to get better practice, man. Come on.
Playing the
This is a,
game at an
this is
extreme
a serious,
sideways.
yeah, at an extreme angle on the side while you're looking on the other end.
Then hold on, let me shoot my laser. So let me come up here.
Oh, right there. Yes.
This is so geeky, and I love it so much.
Okay, guys, we're gonna leave Juan for a little bit. He's gonna be having a little bit too much
Yeah,
fun for us.
you just keep talking about other things. I'm gonna sit here and play a game in a ridiculous way because
It,
this
it,
phone has
it has a
awesome.
second, yes, a side display.
Nah, we
Um,
can stop that now.
But
Sorry.
the one thing about LG though, like I said, they keep getting better and they're improving it as time goes on. So the Wing is now officially in the US. It's available. I think the version that I have here as well is the Verizon model. I'm very happy that they included a case. By the way, I don't know
Yeah.
out of the box having a case that is a first party case on any kind of device. I feel like it's a necessity because you always end up having to go fumble for cases. But short way of saying it is LG's been doing it right, and I feel like they've been improving as time goes on. And I really think people need to start considering that there are other options than just Apple and Samsung. In when it comes down to whatever, if it's like either like one side only, um, the Note is still a good productivity tool. I feel like it gets more powerful when you start using DeX. Now, I don't know if you had the same concerns on your end, or at least in my experience, and it could be just me. Since obviously I have the Duo, and you'll get a chance to play with it again,
Mhm.
hopefully. When I connected it to the Surface Touch, I do say hopefully because the way with my track record right now, it's like I say I'm going to show up places and I don't show
Well,
up. So
I mean, let's just be clear. It's 2020, so at
I
this point, anything's fair game. But
I
it's all right.
just felt so bad. Seriously, guys. I swear to God, I woke up thinking it was
Perfect.
at 9 and at 8:15. He's like, TK, where are you? I'm here. I'm like 15 minutes early. I'm like, oh, I am so sorry. I literally, it was like me apologizing all before this.
No, but what were you gonna say? Like you're connecting it to the
Yeah, no. So what I wanted to test out is obviously is the full. So there's the productivity level on the device, and there is the augmented experience where you're able to connect it to other devices. That's one thing that Samsung's been a big player in
Oh yeah.
for quite some time, way before Android desktop experience even existed. Dex has been the go-to desktop experience
Mhm.
for mobile devices. And what I mean by this, just for reference, it's an experience where you take a Samsung device, an S line generally, and a Note line. Not all of those devices carry it, and where you no longer need any adapters or anything like that. You just need basically a straight HDMI MHL adapter. Um, you get a desktop-like experience of Android on that screen. So if you connect it to a TV, a 30-inch TV, a 40-inch TV, you have a massive display desktop that you're able to interact with your content on. And now you're able to do it wirelessly. That's another thing that Samsung did that changed with the Note 20 line. They changed it because it used to be connected via wire. Now we have wireless projection. But what I wanted to talk about the Surface Duo and when it comes to DeX, I feel like Samsung does still have a better footing into the multitasking when it comes down to connecting it to something like the Next Dock or a TV.
Oh, for sure.
Um,
Hands down. So again, I mean,
yeah, but
this
what I
is
meant is like the whole full package. That's what I was trying to
yeah.
kind of give, like both ends, on device and off device.
So first, it's so Dex is so good that it makes me even angrier that Samsung has not tapped their laptop division, which
Mhm.
makes gorgeous hardware to make a dock for Dex. I was kind of mugging. I was making silly faces where you were talking about wireless Dex. I don't care. I don't care. I have a Next dock.
Oh no, I absolutely yes. The
No,
Next
no,
Dock
but
is the way to go.
but allow me to continue being a whiny little gadget nerd. Um, this whole thing of like, let's turn Dex into something that runs on Windows. I'm sitting in front of a computer. I don't need Dex running as another computer on Windows. But let's
That was
make it
never a function.
wireless.
Yeah.
In very limited ways, I can understand, like, maybe I'm traveling and I can plug a Chromecast into a hotel room TV, and that could be kind of handy. Sure. I understand.
Mhm.
But to deny us a true first party hardware based, keep the phone connected, keep it charging, maybe better enable power management features like a Sony because it's a Samsung dock for a Samsung phone.
Device. Yeah.
There's so much more control they would have over the ecosystem, and that experience is criminal for how good Dex is.
Yes.
So for us kind of batting this back and forth, if it were just phone to phone, I would take a Surface Duo over a Note 20.
I totally agree. Hands
I think
down
it's
for multitasking, true multitasking.
true
Yes.
multitasking. It is the more capable platform.
Yes.
As soon as I add something like a Next Dock, I am so much more confident that I could take a $1,300 phone and pair it with a $300 Next Dock, where it's like 270, but still I'm
I was going
rounding
to say,
up.
yeah, when you well, shipping.
$1,600, and that would be it. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't have to travel with my $2,000 gaming laptop and a phone. I would be able to cut $2,000 off of my travel hardware budget. And
Mhm.
I also probably wouldn't need my mirrorless camera for most of the work that I shoot. So
Mhm.
there's another $1,500 I don't need to travel with. I could. I reasonably could, with almost no compromise, get the same level of work done out in the field with $1,600 worth of gear.
Absolutely.
And it does that better than the V60. But again, if I'm working only off the phone and I don't even want to travel with a Next Dock, I feel Duo and V60 are the better multitaskers.
Mhm.
And the Note is more powerful in ways that I can't really utilize just phone to phone.
You're still capable. So there's still multitasking functionalities. I don't think we're trying to discount the fact that the Note line has them. It's just that
Not as
for
good.
when you're spending that much money and you're trying to get the best experience for multitasking,
Not
they're
as
just
good.
not. They don't hold the same. They don't hold the
I'm
same.
sorry, 2 full screens. Again, this is something where I feel like a next generation Fold might help, especially if they can figure out stylus support like Lenovo is doing with their Flex
which,
ThinkPad.
which is what all the rumors are leading into. The
Pointing
Fold
to
3.
that
Yep.
that starts to make a bit more sense. But right now, you can pick up an LG V60 and a dual display case, and you have better resolution at a smaller pixel pitch over a larger surface area with those two separate displays at less than half the cost.
Absolutely.
So again, Fold is definitely techie cooler.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
less practical and twice the cost.
There are some cases I would say that the Fold does exceed, but we'll bring we'll do this. We'll bring the conversation about the Fold a little bit more, maybe in part 2 on Monday, so that I want to make sure that
when we switch these phones back, and
speaking of which, we are going to exchange. Yeah. We'll be able to have the conversation the other way.
But we should probably get to a few more of these super chats before we.
Yes. No. First, I want to say thank you to Aditya for pointing out the 2 grown men getting giddy over new tech. I like getting giddy over new tech all the time. It's fun.
We like fun.
It's what I look forward to. It's the little things. I said this to a friend of mine a couple of days ago. 2020 as a year, the way it is, it's the little things that matter. You look for enjoyment whenever. And I swear to God, the whole day yesterday, I'm doing this, and I keep every time, and I want to just, like I said, the unlocking LG. If there's a Wing 2 fingerprint sensor in here and there, if you want to have them both, or even put it on the back, put it back in the LG is the one who initially pushed the entire ecosystem of a rear fingerprint sensor. If you remember the original, I think was it the G4, right?
No, G4 didn't. V10 was the first, I think, that had a rear fingerprint sensor.
But it was just that whole, your fingers where it needs. This is where it needs to be. That's just, anyways. Yes, I agree with you, Aditya. It's always fun. Thank you for both. Take care of it. Some gadget guy. Also, happy Halloween. Thank you very much, my friend. I am hoping you're having a good evening.
Did you get Kevin's question? Because I think this will kind of get us back on target.
Let me jump back real quick. Kevin, where are you?
So he's asking, is the price of the Microsoft Stylus worth the usability? I came out from a Fold to a Duo, and I do Microsoft's approach. It was for the Stylus.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. Sorry about that. Yes, it was ahead of us.
My initial reaction to that would be, I feel the Duo is perfectly complete on its own. And the Stylus does not contribute as much to the overall experience as a Stylus does on an LG or as the S Pen does for a Samsung.
Yes.
Microsoft does not include all of the fun little extras, pop-up windows, magnifiers, doodle notes, GIF creation. You don't get any of that. The only time I would say it's kind of more mandatory for the experience is if maybe you're into art and graphics.
Yes.
So if you're editing photos in Lightroom, if you're doodling, or if you're doing like actual artistic work and you want that fine point, then yeah, I mean, obviously that makes sense. As just sort of a fine point, it's handy for taking notes, but I don't know that it completes the experience like S Pen does for the Note 20. I like it and I like using it, but then again, I can't make that kind of a purchasing recommendation for other people because it's a little pricey.
It depends also on the version you go with. I mean, if you go with the original one, it may be a little bit less expensive, but it's definitely not as inexpensive as you can get a Bamboo. The Bamboo this one on Amazon, I bought it in open box, which was not necessarily always going to be available, but I got it for $25. This pen with the battery for $25, and it works perfectly.
And the Lenovo's work really well too. You can find the refurbs on eBay for like 12.
So from a price point, I think it's not going to be a massive difference. But to second to what Juan is saying, you have to also look at it as a generational upgrade, right? LG's had maybe 3 generations or 4 generations now of devices that support a stylus, and every time they get better. So we are seeing that leaps, and I feel like they're getting better faster than the way the other companies have, because it's going like we've had 4 within the span of a year or so, and they've gotten better every time. V60 had support for the pen input, but was never really talked about. We discovered it together, actually through a comment in one of our live stream earlier this year. One of the highlights of the beginning of 2020. And then, but they did a much better job with the Velvet. So I feel like, again, they're putting it into it. But you remember that the Note 20 Ultra or the Note 20 is that many times how many times Samsung has had a stylus. They've had it 9 times since then, right? No, no, 10 times. I'm sorry, take that back. Because the 7 day skip that doesn't, well, then 7 did come back as a, so maybe 11 times. Yeah, there's the fan edition. I was going to say 7 didn't really go away.
But they've been working on the Note for about a decade.
So it goes to say, yes, if you just go based on generational upgrades, it makes more sense. But at the end of the day, you should choose what you want. Do you want a phone that prices that put in the price of a stylus in it, and you can only work with it and have to pay the extra premium at the beginning, or a device that you can still get a good experience with it? And if you do choose to go into the stylus experience, you can purchase that as a separate accessory. Or again, that's the flexibility where I feel like the V60 kind of brings into the game. It's, you don't have to buy into one specific. You get what you need and you customize it to the way you want, and you just add on the things that you want. That modular is always better. We love it in the PC world. I think in the smartphone world, it should be pretty much the same. Give us the option to pick what we want and optimize the system to work with it if we choose to move on to it. And hopefully Microsoft, yeah.
Well, and because there was another super chat asking, maybe from Davin, let's hope Microsoft brings some of the Continuum ideas to the Duo going forward.
Oh man, I miss Continuum. I really missed. I was surprised. Yeah.
Right. But every smartphone has different hardware, and we should expect different hardware should change our behavior.
Yeah.
And so for me, the Duo's modularity comes from things like the Bluetooth folding keyboard that I hooked you up with to go with it, that fits almost exactly the same shape and form factor.
It's absolutely one of the best accessories. It's so clean, and I'm picking one up. I already have a bid on it on one of them on eBay. I found them. This is like so nice, so thin.
It's great. So like, that's the modularity of the Surface, is you put that with a stylus and a folding keyboard.
I can't get it to focus. Sorry.
Camera, it's fine. So that becomes a more modular tailoring through the accessories.
Right there, baby. I'm getting learn how to do this.
Where the Note 20 could also have that same conversation isn't replacing different phones, but replacing a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
The modularity conversation for a Note moves the Note completely out of the conversation of other phones. And if we could utilize DeX with more options like Next Docks, and I'm telling you, the Next Dock Touch is a nice upgrade. It's okay. A great.
Hold on. So I'm gonna freeze on this frame now. Oh, what happened?
That's hilarious.
I wanted to freeze on a different frame.
You literally froze perfect on my side with that ridiculous.
Man, you win last time, I win this time. Let's just keep it
gorgeous. No, but we want phones to fit different needs, different uses. Productivity is a super broad idea to try and wrap our brains around when we're talking about. Some people need better documents and document and spreadsheet support, Zoom calls, things like that. Some people are going to need more fine point touch control or just horsepower for things like video rendering. Being productive is a completely different or unique conversation for every consumer. But I'm still so sad that Samsung hasn't empowered the Note conversation to be like what LG is talking about, but then taking it to a more disruptive computer tier. DeX doesn't help me if I'm privileged enough to have a nice computer already. But there are so many consumers out there who could be helped by the idea of, hey, this is an expensive phone. But if you buy this expensive phone and we've got a good support platform for it, it's going to outperform a laptop that you would also be able to afford on top of the price of
and it would justify having that expensive. That's when you want to go for all of the horsepower, all the RAM, all that extra stuff that you want to get on that phone. Yes, because the beauty of the Next Dock is that, let's say you're using this for a year and 2021 comes around and you're buying the Note 21 or whatever, insert XYZ powerhouse of 2021. Your Next Dock just got upgraded to the next level, and it now benefits from all of those horsepower and all of the purchase decision that you did, and you're able to have it mobile. It charges your phone. It has memory expansion, headphone jack, USB Type A, USB Type C. I even ran a version of Windows Touch using an Access oops, and I don't want to break house here. The Access 4 that we,
Mhm.
you know, that we got, I connected
Oh.
that to the next dock, and I got a touch version of Windows on the go. That was crazy nice.
So good.
So, yes, absolutely. Next dock 2 was amazing. Next dock Touch is freaking awesome. And I don't say freaking awesome too often. It's one of those things I really like. But yes,
And I really I just need to keep driving this point home. I have a Nook, one of the Ghost Canyon big boy Nooks.
I've
And
seen
it's
your
got a
videos. Yes, very nice.
so it's a Core i9, laptop grade Core i9 with a 1660 Super, which is a pretty decent GPU. It's
It's
not
actually
like
not bad for no.
right,
I mean, yeah.
but it's a good small form factor. You know, in that tier just below like a 2060.
Mhm.
And on DaVinci Resolve Studio, it's only slightly outperforming Snapdragon 865s and my Pixel 4 XL
Oh
for
wow.
arriving at the
Mhm.
same video quality. So this should be an overwhelming advantage for this is roughly $2,700 worth of small form factor PC.
Yeah.
This is a very powerful little
Nook.
computer.
Correctly named Nook.
Yeah, exactly. And it fits in the little nook
Nook.
behind my TV very well. If you're concerned about, well, maybe this phone laptop hybrid idea isn't going to be good enough for me because I'm a power user. Are you using a current $3,000 gaming laptop? Because if you're not, then the Note 20, the V60, and probably also the Surface
Just
Duo
Duo.
will hang with, if not outperform, for a variety of these tasks that we think of as being heavy lifting computer tasks. Now, it's obviously not a full, fair oranges to oranges comparison, but if I match all of the edits, I use all the same transitions, I put on a watermark, I have the same soundtrack, and I've got it keyed to the frame between DaVinci Resolve Studio and Power Director or KineMaster on one of my phones, and I bring Resolve down in video rendering quality to match what the phone is going to output. That should be such an overwhelming advantage for the PC that it takes 2.5 times the price in hardware to give me
A similar experience.
no, not similar, but to consistently outperform it.
Mhm.
So again, I really need you gadget specs nerds to take a step and look around, because we could be recommending for people, this is plenty of power to get your work done. You might have to change some of your behavior and use slightly different apps, but you're going to be able to use this. And I think it's almost criminal of Samsung to not offer something like this, because if Samsung were to give us a dock for the Note to really use DeX like a laptop, this would be the push that would get more Android app developers on board, making more robust versions of mobile software for us to use. Like, it would kick Adobe's butt to stop only catering to the iPhone for the first 3 generations of more robust Adobe programs.
Exactly.
If we don't get it because Samsung's afraid about, cutting into their laptop sales, then why bother
Because
continuing?
we're seeing Samsung releasing devices that use a mobile hardware like Atom-based processors for their PCs. So it's not like
we know Windows is going to be on ARM,
absolutely
connected PCs,
and not to kind of go too far, but as well as Adobe will at some point support it. But I kind of hear what you're saying. Is essentially it would technically go against their Chromebooks. It will also go against their Windows on ARM PCs or even their Windows laptops if they want to put it in. But I think what we're saying essentially is that we need a dock-like experience. It's not necessarily that it's going to compete. It's not going to sell as a laptop. It's an accessory to your smartphone ecosystem. But when you make it as a first party, you're able to control the experience. Because right now we're seeing what Next Dock Touch can do, and it does amazingly with it. I love the functionality, the multitask, the multi-touch, the gesture support, the snapping of the window, all of the things that I can do on it. I feel like this is what DeX is intended for it. I tested DeX on my Tab S7 as well as on my Galaxy Fold, and I really started to benefit. And like having, when you have the next dock next to the Tab S7, it's like dual screen monitors on the go, like and touch on both of them. So hopefully we'll be able to see some things like that from Samsung in the future. And I'm hoping they're watching and taking hopefully some heavy notes. But when it comes down
Samsung
to
is totally listening to us.
they don't know. I think
but again,
yeah.
it's upsetting because we have these kinds of conversations where I don't understand why techies own nice phones. I really don't. I'm getting to a point where it's like, what do you do on your phone? And it's this like, well, I mean, we're real concerned about average consumers. So when I'm reviewing this phone, I only cover the basics because that's what average consumers buy average phones. Average consumers do not buy super
$1,300
premium powerhouse devices. Stop it. What does this do that can help me replace other gadgets in my ecosystem? What can this do? This $1,300 phone is going to get my work done as fast or faster than a lot of $2,000 gaming laptops. Show me what that looks like, because there's someone out there who can't afford a $2,000 laptop and a $1,500 camera and a $1,300 phone. And they could be empowered to work at a very high tier on something that can do all of those things with the right accessory. And Absolutely. That's the last kind of idea in my brain for productivity. I can't recommend the Note against a Duo or a V60 for a multitasking phone. I really can't. I just, there are so few people that I think, well, the super zoom, that's what's going to sell it.
It's a gimmick at best. You do it once and you forget
it. It's cool. I'm not trying to say it's not cool.
No, I know.
Times zoom is really cool.
It is,
that's
but
not going to really
sell. Name one time we've ever had to use it after the first time we tried it. That's all I'm saying.
It's not going to sell $1,300 worth of phone, but if I could sell, I know of people in my circle of family and friends who would be interested in $1,600 worth of phone and powerhouse laptop on a 5G data connection. Will always be connected. Incredible battery life when you pair those up together, and the dock is powering the phone until you want to use it like a phone again. That's a great conversation, but Samsung's not having that conversation. Samsung is not leading that conversation. Samsung wants you to buy a phone and a tablet and a laptop.
They want you to, exactly.
That's not the game.
And the camera, which, well, actually, no, I think the NX line is gone, if I'm not mistaken.
Don't even get me started on them.
I'm sorry. I said the word NX and I'm like, that's a touchy point. Okay.
Hold on. Let me just smash a bunch of things in my office for how angry I am at them screwing me on the NX.
No, I agree. And I think what we see here essentially is we are looking for, hopefully my goal essentially right now is to say that if I had to pick one of these two devices, and this is where we're going to kind of summarize it on my end, we'll leave the conclusion for what Juan will want to do in his strategy. Just kind of make sure that you guys are aware. This is part 1 of 2. So Monday morning, as normal, Juan has a podcast. I think 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah. So this time it changes every once in a while, but generally it's 9 a.m. on Mondays. We're going to do part 2, which is essentially going into more of what is the preference on Juan's side, but to summarize things, where coming from a Note 20 Ultra, I'm not going to lie that initially when I did get the Note 20 Ultra, I wasn't exactly, it never felt like the step up. And I want to mention it very specifically. It's not that it's not an improvement in specs. It's not that there is no new features. Obviously, those are true. Wireless DeX is one thing. There's a few things that were obviously new in the Note 20. But when I compare the Note 20 Ultra to the S20 Ultra or the Note 10 Plus, I felt like it was a very, very much, you could have called it the Note 10 Plus Plus, and that would have fit to me as in it's the same thing. It had so few small amount of changes that it didn't feel for me like it was a big upgrade. If I was coming from a Note 10, that would have been a bigger upgrade because then your bigger phone, SD card, there's a few more games, but those are the things
against the Note 9, where I feel like the Note 9 was the last true Note.
Truly, because you truly got the best of the best. That was
a bit of a reach.
It's a hard
one. I know that the daily driver experience on the Note 20 feels like I'm so much more capable in getting my work done than where I was on the Note 9.
And to Ken X's comment, which I think I forgot the whole time we were talking about the dock and hoping Microsoft and all of that stuff, it all kind of stems from Project Linda, which we both got a chance to check out at CES.
It stems from Motorola. Come on, credit where
No, okay,
credit's
so the
due.
Atrix, we're going back to the Atrix. Yes, I
Laptop,
agree. App
and
Dock,
then
the Atrix,
Continuum, and then Project.
but I feel like what I think Ken is kind of commenting on is that perfect integration where Linda used the phone as a trackpad, because all the other transitions that we've seen in the past have been a dock where you don't use the phone.
Pros and cons.
Yeah,
as a 1-to-1, that is a really cool idea.
It's harder
to manage thermals because you're also using that to charge the phone, and the phone is powering the experience. So
and the display is on. Yep, the whole time.
Active cooling, and the display needs to be on where you can't mess with it in a way where you can tell Android to turn off and keep powering the second display. And then it's also much more likely to be e-waste after 2 years because you have a limited. You look at Motorola with Moto Mods.
Yeah,
either you're going to make the exact same form factor for years to support an accessory which we know won't be very popular, or the accessory is just junk after a couple phone generations as you move to a different form factor.
And so, they did actually with the last generation of Moto Mod. Yeah.
And so what I think Motorola actually could have done that the best. I'm so mad they never made a Moto Mod lap dock, because the magnets, you would have snapped your phone right in. It would have been perfectly built. It would have been the best use of that Moto Mod platform. But I really feel if you're not gonna commit to making the same phone form factor for long enough to make a dock worth it, then the only thing that makes sense is to keep it on a cable.
Absolutely.
And with Next Dock, I mean, one of the cool things, they're trying to push those accessories where you have like a screen mount. You can pop your phone up and connect.
So that's what I wanted to tell you. So I didn't use theirs. So here's my Next Dock, right? I bought this little accessory, which, oh my God, it drives me crazy.
That's super cute. I like that.
So like when I'm using it, obviously this is where it's going to be bombing entirely, because this is where TK tries to demo something. So here, so essentially you could see the phone matches.
Yeah, I like
so,
that.
And when I'm done, I take the phone away and magnet goes aside. Yeah, no, but I'm saying that those are the things that you'd want from, let's say, a Note 20. This is the S20 Ultra. So snap it on, use it, and when you don't need it, put it in the back, and here's your laptop. It's still there. And massive 60 watt-hour battery. Massive. Just
we've been grossly overbuying for processing power. I think TK just froze on me again. Excuse me. I have no idea, who or what might still be.
Oops, sorry. Yeah. How you doing? Sorry, I was having a bite.
My last point there, and when I got frozen, was since the Snapdragon 845, we've been overbuying compute power in our phones, and you can know that's clear because the Snapdragon 765 is not more powerful than an 845, and the 765 is fine. It is a perfectly capable daily driver chipset.
I feel like it's not just necessarily the compute power, but it's also the capabilities that we're able to push out of it. It's the support for other certain peripherals, the higher refresh rate on devices, especially the 144, started with the 865. We saw higher refresh rate with other phones, but I agree. Horsepower to horsepower may not necessarily win by this margin of like, this is so much faster for if you're just opening and closing Twitter all day long. Or even if you're opening and closing your mail application, writing a document, editing, casual editing of images and so on, and just normal average, I would say, usage. I'm not going to use the word average because everybody's usage is different, but at least for what I would use it for, I don't feel like the 865 brings in, just from the sheer horsepower, a noticeable difference. Where I like what the 865 brings with it is the integrated, the X55 modem, if we want to be able to go to 5G connectivity, but it's also the higher refresh rates, the optimizations for different aspects of the gaming experience. Because I tend to game, as you do, heavily on our mobile devices ever since we've been kind of home for quite some time. We have been going and seeking this connectivity options and different, things that we can do with our devices. But with that being said, I think let me just kind of do a quick summary generally. Note 20 Ultra is the best Note that you can get in 2020.
Sorry, you set that up so perfect where I thought Note 20 Ultra is garbage. It's just like, whoa.
That took a side. I was like, where did this go? Wait, TK, hold on a second. Yeah, hold it. No.
It's the
I-
most note Samsung could make
and
in
and and
2020. It
and
really
if
is.
and if you guys know me, I try to look on the positive of everything we look into. There's very few times where you ever hear me say this is garbage, because at the end of the day, it will work for some people and it will work for others. It's not, there's no such thing as a perfect phone for everyone. There's a perfect phone for what you need, and that phone is X.
Right.
But for me, I truly appreciate what Samsung's putting into the Note 20 line. I like what they're putting in there, but I feel like it's not doing enough for me to make me excited about the Note line as it used to do to me in the past. I started with the Note 2. I didn't start with Note 1. I didn't believe in the first one because I felt like it was too boxy. Wasn't sure if it was going to go. But I can tell you that since the Note 2, I've been a big fan of Note devices. And I do like the Note 20 Ultra, but I feel like it, Samsung, and yeah. So oh my God, you have the original.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even the Note 4. That's the Note 1. Oh my God. Okay.
16 by 10 aspect
I am
ratio.
so
Take
crashing
that,
into your place and
cinema.
take it. Cinema wide. So for that part, I would say the Note 20 is, like I said, it could be a perfect device if it's used with the right accessories. I think the next stock as an accessory to any Samsung or Huawei device in 2020 or any other year is something. If you own a Samsung device or even a Huawei, you really should check out next stock.
Yeah.
If you're looking for that type of technology. When it comes down to the Surface Duo, from the day I got a chance to play with it till the first opportunity I had to play with it for a couple of days, and then when I spent a month, this is truly like the time you really need to kind of get into it, because you want to learn about the little, the quirks, the little hiccups that happen every so often that don't happen all the time when you're like, head down doing benchmarks and so on, or just testing it. Honestly, the Surface Duo is a blast to multitask on. Sitting on the couch, watching TV and working on it, or even just trying to run, like jumping on a Zoom call. I had to do one of my doctor visits now. They do them online now. We don't even have to sit together. It's just sitting there. And I took the Duo, and I put it on the desk and I moved around, and it's propping itself, working where I need it to be. And then later on, flipped it over, started doing my edits, jumping into Twitter, all of the things I want to do. It works. It just does it right. And I say it because it's intuitively right. It's not just because I feel like I'm right or it's right. It's the way I imagine my technology needs to do to fit what I need. Having, like Juan would always say, that this is really a tablet with a folding mechanism device on it. That's really what it is. You're using an Android desktop, and you need to understand it and treat it like a desktop so that you really understand that the right side and the left side work with each other. It's not just like V60s are. So I like it. I'm sad that I have to give it back. I think Juan's going to have to, it's going to be really, really lucky to get it back tomorrow. Of course, I will be lucky as well, as the Note 20 Ultra is also still a powerhouse. But I think between the two, my hat's off to you.
This is also, I think, one of the more interesting conversations where we've had, where I feel it's also important to acknowledge tech privilege.
Yeah.
We're having a very nuanced conversation about phones that start at like $900. And I've been critically frustrated by the overall gadget conversation landscape, where the nuance of $200 to $300 price differences between devices is getting lost. I got real cranky earlier when we were talking about Pixel 4, but like the real world daily driver use of an iPhone 12 versus a Pixel 5 is really close. And I have a hard time in my brain saying, well, because you have more horsepower that you can't really use, and it's going to nuke the battery on the iPhone 12, the iPhone deserves to be $200 more. What is Google doing to justify their price tag? This whole conversation is backwards now, and it's all being led by marketing and branding and PR teams that spend tens of billions of dollars entrenching an idea in the brains of consumers for a consumerism that I think is a little unseemly. And so when I'm trying to have this conversation, I feel like why I love having these types of conversations with you, TK, is we are trying to acknowledge these are privileged devices, this ultra premium tier. but we want to have a focused conversation on actually trying to drive them
Yes.
to a point or to a degree that warrants why we would spend this much. If you're never going to use a phone for any heavy lifting work, go buy a Pixel 4a. No shame. Go buy an iPhone SE. Those are amazing phones. But if you're trying to replace other gadgets in your ecosystem, if you're trying to drive a phone to a higher degree, there are reasons to move up the food chain. It's just now we've got to be so much clearer and so much more specific about what it is that we're trying to accomplish, because consumers think I need to buy the bestest or I'm going to get a terrible camera and I'll never get updates. And
Exactly.
that's not true anymore. And
Nope.
we need to help re-educate. You're using basic stuff on Irene. Go buy a basic phone because it's going to cover you really, really well. No more of this. Well, you got to pay $50 a month for 30 months through your carrier just to have a reasonably good camera. That is not true anymore. And that message is not getting through. That message
With a
is
$600 deposit before the close to $50. Yes. No, I'm with you.
And when I say that, I mean it's not breaking through the techies, because I feel like we're still kind of locked in the specs nerd spec sheet kind of conversation. Well, now that the S20 FE exists, no one should bother competing. BS. Sorry, wrong, incorrect. You're not right. If you say things like that, you're bad at tech. You don't get it.
You really need to understand that the spectrum of devices. It's not a flagship or no, or it's basically flagship for life kind of a thing. I agree.
So I appreciate you letting me kind of just soapbox for a second there, and I promise you that when you're on my podcast on Monday, I won't just political rant the whole time, because I have some very specific questions once I get the note back in your hands and you fire it up again. I feel
I have my backup set right away. Actually, that's one thing that's one thing I forgot to mention earlier. The backup and restore functionality with Samsung devices is actually crazy good. So for me, even though I've lent them the phone for a month, I can restore my backup and I'm back to the moment as if I was backing it up. So it's
the one thing I want kind of percolating in your brain, and I want you to pay attention to, because this is going to be one of the first things that I want to jump in on.
Yep.
When we're separated from a phone for around a month, it's almost like there's like this new opportunity to kind of have a second first impressions.
Yeah.
And putting the note back in your hands, I'm going to be very curious to see how you feel, if some of your feelings might have changed about price performance. It's totally fair to rock a Duo for almost a full month and then go back to a note and see, oh, well, maybe a little extra horsepower does help me here, where the Duo might have been a little underperforming. I'll be curious to see if there's anything like that kind of latches on when you get your account set up again.
You might also say that it was really nice that I kind of missed our appointment earlier today so that we could do this the right way. Not trying to put any words in your mouth, my buddy. And
I'm going to go with that. By design, we arrived at the absolute correct way to do this.
Because if we exchanged it, this whole conversation would have been me opening up the phone and like whatever. But actually, I would probably say maybe we should do this more often. I feel like we really do a lot of good conversations back and forth, and I think we should probably at some point talk. Maybe making something out of this.
If any of your viewers on your stream here, and I'll put out the same call on my podcast on Monday, if
absolutely
there's any interest in maybe like a regular TK1 tech chat conversation.
Yeah. Just,
you guys want, let us know.
A little bit of fun, a little bit of good time, with some coffee. A little bit later, some nights during the week. Not to say that we haven't thought about it, but yes, please let me know.
We've if you guys never had any conversations
ever have talked about this multiple times.
Creating a new podcast style platform for cool, fun, geeky conversation. Never crossed.
Wait, hold on a second. I got to do this right. We're how to do it correctly. Nudge. Yeah. But with that being said, yeah, exactly. Hey, buddy, what's up? Don't forget tomorrow, Across the Podcast with Sam and Matt. They're back to their normal time,
Yes.
1 o'clock Pacific.
Definitely jump in there.
Yes, definitely. Please check them out. And of course, Monday morning, Juan Carlos Bagnell on the dot at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Don't forget daylight savings.
That's what I was actually about to say right now. Don't forget to do that. If you do, you're going to show up no, they'll show up an hour early. That's okay.
I mean, but that's a bummer because you could have slept that extra hour.
It always messes me up, this whole thing. But before we go, I do need to do one last thing.
We do.
We got to do you got to do the actual last one, which essentially is the inception. Are you ready for the TKception, my friend? 1, 2, 3. Okay, select and go. So with that being said, I do want to say thank you to everybody that joined us today. Obviously, Aditya, as always, and of course, he's hitting us up with TK, the brand new hashtag TK Bagnell /Ception, the new one we have. Oh my God. And of course, Greg is in the comments. Andrew's in the comments in there. Of course, we saw a lot of people, TKception right there, Frat Produce. You know what? His thumbnail fits this one much, much better. Yeah. Look at that. He's like pointing at you. Exactly. It's like, you, TK, do it now. And then, of course, always Matt Tyler, of course, as was TK Bagnell and Aditya jumping in. I love it. And the Benedict Cumberbatch one, always from Sherlock, gets me every time I see that. So please be safe. JC or Juan, sorry, I keep swapping back from saying JC or Juan.
I've replied to both.
Please take care. I promise tomorrow we will work out a timeline, and I will make sure that the duo is back in your hands. And of course,
no stress. Let me know what your window is, and I'll have a cup of coffee waiting for you when you get here.
I appreciate it, and I have 2 windows right here. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you to Andrew, by the way, for the beautiful wallpaper that I've been rocking since the beginning of this.
I'm thinking just kind of copy that out and put it right back on.
It is a kick-ass Windows background with the Halloween theme, of course, closing out because October.
Andrew was responsible also. Andrew was so cool for getting me this vinyl skin, right? But then he also had this NCOM label. And if anyone knows what NCOM is, then you're ultra nerd too.
Ultra nerd.
Okay, yeah, to NCOM?
No, NCOM, I don't know what.
End of line.
Okay, I got it. Okay, now I'm sorry.
Virtual Computer Corporation from Tron.
And Tron.
So I have an NCOM edition.
I appreciate it, and yes,
that cool glass tabletop with the keyboard. That
I'm totally with. Yeah, I'm back with you on that one now.
PC would end every instruction set with "end of line." I fight for the user. And we froze again.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I froze in a weird shape again.
Sorry, I was cracking up because Andrew put the "I fight for the user," which is one of the lines from Tron, and then
I know.
Again, which I feel is the perfect way to wrap up.
Exactly. NCOM, no, sorry. Oh, come on, Aditya. So with that being said, hope you guys are having a good weekend. If you guys are trick-or-treating, having fun with the family, please enjoy it. Stay safe. And of course, we will see you guys very shortly. Again, Sunday with Across the Podcast, and Monday morning with Juan Carlos's live podcast on his channel. See you guys soon.